And we're live.
Oh my God. All right.
So for those of you on YouTube, I've been putting episodes up on YouTube for a while. We haven't done a whole lot with actual video, but we do today. And you get to see the live unedited version. If you want the edited version, go to atheistnomads.com/128 and you'll get the audio. I will not be doing any video editing.
I may very well be freezing my balls off. I haven't been at my house in like a week, and I didn't leave the heat on.
Oh,
yeah, I remember those good old days.
Home. Yeah, I got home like 5 minutes before they started.
That was before I finally just resorted to squatting at Dustin's house.
Sure.
All right, so we are going to go ahead and do the podcast start. Episode 128, News. I screwed that up already. Damn it. And we're live. Atheist Nomads, episode 128, News for January 7, 2015.
The podcast you're about to listen to includes cursing and talking about hoo-haws. Please be advised.
We are the Atheist Nomads, bringing you history, science, politics, religion, and interviews with leaders in the atheist community. Not all those who wander are lost. Welcome to another episode of Atheist Nomads. I am Dustin. Joining me as always is Wesley.
I need a quart of hot water and a spatula. Stat.
And joining us once again is my lovely wife, Lauren Studley.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah, we're sharing the camera on our end.
Yeah.
Now, for those of you just listening, we are recording this on Hangouts on Air. We don't do that very often, but you could go to youtube.com/atheistnomads and see the raw, unedited video.
Raw.
If you're curious about my statement, watch Joe Dirt.
I watched it once years ago.
Mm-hmm.
That was enough.
Yeah.
All right. So, Wesley, how you been?
Oh boy, not too bad. Just the yearly forced leave from my job, so just got back today, and yeah, let's just say I'm a fucking secretary right now. Kind of. No, I'm all right. It's going good.
And Lauren, how about you?
It's going quite well. Also back at work after a 4-day. Really, Wesley? Are you holding it right up to the microphone?
No, it's like 3 foot. It's an arm length away.
That's some loud beer. Anyway, yes. Got back to work just in time to watch little ermine, which is a type of weasel, frolic in the creek next to my work. It was awesome.
Nice. And Lauren's family apparently thinks I don't drink enough. For Christmas, I got from her sister 2 Black Butte Porter pint glasses, and from her parents, Scotch glasses, Scotch rocks, and a check that in the memo line said for Scotch. So I bought the Scotch, and then we were at her parents' place for Christmas or Thanksgiving. Yeah. Whoa, holy crap. New Year's. And yeah, her mom got me quite drunk.
Welcome to the family, my love.
That's true love right there.
Oh man, her mom has made sure I like going to see them with classical conditioning. I show up,
click,
they give me beer.
I'll have him clicker trained in no time. Yeah. But no, seriously, they've always kind of expressed that open-armed, beer in one hand, a handshake in the other kind of attitude, but never to this extent with previous boyfriends. They adore you, and they respect how you drink, which I think is the key. You know, you drink Scotch, you drink dark beers, you don't drink IPAs. Yeah,
he also made it past stouts. He also made it past boyfriend status. Come on.
Yeah, the whole husband thing really hasn't sunk in yet.
Well, and last Christmas I helped shovel their driveway and sidewalk.
Oh, shit.
And this weekend I helped shovel the cabin roof.
Yeah, my dad was out there doing it all by himself, and Dustin just pitched in, and that was it. That was the clincher. Got my dad's respect, and it's been beer and snow shoveling ever since. But seriously, the cabin gets like 4 or 5 feet of snow, and that needs to come off the roof before the cabin collapses.
Oh,
so
yeah.
These guys had a fun time up there. He got to borrow my snowshoes, and I think it got him hooked on a new way of exploring the outdoors.
Yeah, I'd only snowshoed once before, and that was with backpacking in the spring.
That's pretty much just strapping tennis rackets to your feet.
Pretty close, yeah.
All right.
And when you've got a 35-pound pack on your back, it's nowhere near as much fun. And it also helps when you're only going, 200 feet to the cabin. But yeah, I definitely want to get a pair of my own and do some snowshoeing. But I think it is time to jump into our segment that is yet to be named. I've been thinking on my way home from work today, I was thinking of a name for it, and Intro to Religion was the only thing that came to mind. I know we can do better.
Dustin's Corner.
Religion 101.
That also came to mind.
Except for it's more Adventist based, so it's more like...
at this point, it will be expanding, though.
Dustin's Dusty Corner.
Dusting off the degree.
There we go.
There, we got a winner.
I like that.
All right, so for today's Dusting Off the Degree, it is actually quite literal. Scathing Atheists just finished their 3-year-long reading of the Bible. And in the wrap-up last week, they talked about their favorite parts of the book. And that got me thinking about what my favorite is. Not surprising, it's part of a section that I know most intimately. For my Greek exegesis class, I was assigned the passage of Galatians 4, 1-10. And I wrote an 8-page paper on it. I don't have the appendix anymore, but I think the appendix was another 6 pages.
Did it burst, or did you get it out before the infection spread?
Funny. Now, this is also a passage that I've translated from the original Greek myself. To be fair, though, over the course of my studies, I did translate roughly a quarter of the New Testament from the original Greek, which was pretty fun. But unfortunately, yeah, I don't have that translation. The part that is really good is the first 3 verses, which I will read from the New American Standard. And the New American Standard, for those of you not familiar, is the most literal, readable translation from the original languages. Now I say, as long as the heir is a child, he does not differ at all from a slave, although he is owner of everything. But he is under guardians and managers until the date set by the father. So also we, while we were children, were held in bondage under the elemental things of the world. Stoicheia, the elemental spirits in this passage, was the main focus of my paper, since that is a poorly understood term, but it most likely means pagan gods, and from the larger passage probably also included Judaism. The passage goes on to say that by the time that when the time was complete, Christ came and he freed the heirs so they wouldn't be like slaves anymore. Now, what's really awesome with this passage is it describes religion perfectly. Religion enslaves people, most often their minds, but all too often their bodies, especially the bodies of women. And some of this also may have been beneficial when humanity was immature. But now we have science and philosophy. So we don't need gods as guardians. We can handle freedom now. And if neither of you have anything to add, it's time for history.
Fuck. Right.
My favorite part of the Bible. None of it.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back with history. Atheist Nomads is proudly brought to you by Archway Hosting. Check out their low-price, full-featured hosting solutions at archwayhosting.com. That's ARCHWAY hosting.com.
Hey, we're also brought to you by listeners just like you. Find out how you can become a patron at patreon.com/Atheist Nomads. That's patreon.com/Atheist Nomads.
Oh shit! So yeah, this day in history, January 7th, starting with the lovely year of 1789. The first United States presidential election is had. So yeah, all those rich white landowning males did you proud.
Really did something.
Yeah. So yeah, George Washington, of course. Spoilers, he won. Uh,
Yeah.
but he was definitely expected to win by a landslide in the first place. But some of the other people that were part of the election that he was running against were John Adams, John Kay, John Rutledge, John Hancock, seeing a trend here, Samuel Huntington, Benjamin Lincoln, and the guy that I just love his name because of other reasons, George Clinton, who's the governor of New York. Yeah, because fucking Parliament is awesome.
That's quite the field.
It is. A lot of really famous names and a couple I've never heard of. But yeah, so
I can just see people looking at the ballot. They're like, anybody but John.
Pretty much. Fuck. So as they do now, they did back then. They used the electoral college system, which was established by the U.S. Constitution, and that's basically everybody votes, and then a few people actually vote, and it's their votes that count, and they don't actually have to follow what everybody says. It's kind of fucked up.
Yeah. Well, there's actually one example where a delegate switched the names of Gerald Ford and his running mate.
Really?
And yeah, now granted, it was pointless at that point since Jimmy Carter had already seized more than enough electoral votes, but it had to prove that you don't have to put down what you're supposed to.
That's some fucked up shit. But yeah, back in the day, it only took 69 electoral votes to that was the total, and it so much simpler back then. But yeah, that's
Everything was simpler when it was just rich, white, educated landowners, male, that could vote.
I know. God, I miss it.
Once you add the whole peanut gallery, things get complicated.
Well, if it goes past the penis gallery, then yeah, things get complicated.
Mm-hmm. Because, at that time, the only thing they were really firm on is that you had to be male and a landowner.
Exactly. And you had to be able to get an erection, too.
There were a few black men who were landowners at the time who could vote.
Really?
In some states.
Okay. I think like New York, probably.
Yeah, it wasn't across the board, and it wasn't common. It was, very uncommon for there to be free black men in the U.S. at that time, and especially free black men with enough money to own land.
So we wouldn't qualify.
Man, yes, I would qualify. My ass is broke, but I would still qualify. Okay. All right. So, moving on along. All right. This day in history, the year is 1947. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer fucking was the #1 song on the U.S. pop charts. So, this is actually kind of cute and kind of sad and kind of cute.
Rudolph would be on Medicare.
Yeah, he had fucking cancerous growths in his nose. Fucking all red and shit, swollen.
Radioactive cancerous growths.
Radioactive!
That's what you get for being a reindeer at Chernobyl. Fuck. So, yeah, Robert L. May. He was a songwriter, and he worked at, Montgomery Ward's. And, he was actually the brother-in-law to the guy that wrote quite a few really awesome songs, like Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree, which is kind of my favorite Christmas song. So, fuck all y'all.
That's a good one.
Holly Jolly Christmas, and, a few others. But, maybe there's a little bit of jealousy there, just kind of, or maybe friendly competition spurred him on to write his own jingle. But yeah, so he fucking wrote Rudolph, and somehow it got on the radio, and Gene Autry heard it, and Gene Autry, the singing cowboy, he sang it, and they sold over 2 million units in its first year alone, and
Wow.
it was the second most successful Christmas record in history, only behind White Christmas. So yeah, this was
It set up so much like Christmas lore too. I mean, never before were reindeer named or like any of that. That had the little children's chorus was added much later, I'm sure, but it's kind of a big deal when it comes to writing new music. Nobody does that nowadays. It's impossible to write a Christmas song that lasts longer than a week on the charts.
Well, and it's also incredibly difficult to create a new character.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they came out with a slew of them right around there. There was Frosty the Snowman, there was Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Jack Frost.
Oh, fucking Jack Frost! I didn't like him. But,
oh, chill there. Oh, maybe not chill. I don't know. Is that offensive?
No, they're not stuck They're not stuck to the couch anymore, so it's fine. So yeah,
hot water and a spatula. I got it now.
Yeah, there you go. She's a thinker.
You married me for my brains.
So, gotta remember though, Mr. May there was a employee of Montgomery Ward's, and guess what? That was actual IP, intellectual property of Montgomery Ward's. Now that song.
Yeah, they stole it.
So he didn't get a fucking penny from it. But yeah, the dude's wife died from a terminal illness. I mean, it was pretty fucked up. He had really high bills for a long time. But the owner of Montgomery Ward's, a guy named Sewell Avery, signed over to Robert May 100% of Rudolph, all of the copyrights, everything. So he got all the royalties from that song. And he actually ended up living very comfortably till his death in 1976.
Oh, so, that's awesome. Nice. You don't hear those kind of stories very often.
I know, right? I mean,
yeah.
That was a fuckload of money, I'm sure, for Montgomery Ward.
Too bad about the wife thing, but here's some money.
Yeah. So crazy. Anyways. Moving on along. This day in history, the year is Prince's favorite, 1999. So on this day in 1999, the United States begins its impeachment of President Bill Clinton.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, so he was the first president to be impeached by the House of Reps since Andrew Johnson in 1868, first of all. And yeah, I'm sure most people have heard of some of these scandals that were going around him, and Hillary, of course. So like the alleged improper Arkansas real estate deals that they had, possible fundraising violations, claims of sexual harassment, and accusations of cronyism involving the firing of White House travel agents, oddly enough. So yeah, there was this independent counsel guy named Kenneth Starr, and he was supposed to investigate, and he did. And guess what? A whole bunch of interesting stuff came out, like Monica Lewinsky, blue dresses, and cigars. And boy, did that just light up the American. All those little lights in their heads are going off. Little light bulbs are like, oh my God, he's not having sex with Hillary. He's having sex with Monica. Oh my God. And all this personal, private shit that I just didn't really care about in the first place. But yeah. Sure.
I think the
so-
other stuff was probably a little bit more serious, but not nearly as interesting.
not nearly as juicy, one might say.
Of course, if you could get impeached for cronyism, we would have impeached every single president.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's kind of the whole thing is like, oh, all right, you get me elected, I'll get you a cool job, or I'll get you a thing. I will get you a bill through.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much how election money works. Fuck. So, anyways, yeah, the Democratic leaders, of course, were trying to only censure the president, and luckily, that divided House of Reps, they did impeach Clinton, but when the issue went to the Senate after a 5-week trial, Clinton was actually acquitted. So, yeah, he was
Suck back.
impeached, but then it's like, no, yeah, acquitted. So it was, I don't know. I mean, from what I understood, the dude was like fucking killing it, just like making our country better. I mean, don't get me wrong, he was fucking shit up in the politics. I think like Bosnia Herzegovina,
NAFTA.
the Serbs, wasn't it? They were getting bombed the fuck out of their.
Oh yeah,
homes.
Bosnia was huge. NAFTA was a huge one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He did a few things that were quite unpopular, but he also balanced the budget.
they would have a surplus.
Surplus for the first time ever. Demilitarized a bunch of stuff, which some people consider a really good thing. Anyway, yeah. And what's weird is my mom mentioned this the other day. 1999 was the year that I had one sister graduate from high school and the other sister was one grade behind. And not once in their American government classes was this even mentioned. Because it wasn't in the
Wow.
curriculum. It's like, are you kidding? You're living through a presidential impeachment. You should probably be teaching these kids what's going on. Nope.
Yeah,
We'll
Wow,
just go
that's
through the
shit out of-
textbook,
out of
which
all
ends at
the
1956, and we will just ignore it.
President Johnson was our last president. There have not been any teachers. There have not been any presidents since then because our textbooks are so fucking old.
Yeah, basically.
They get updated periodically, and yeah.
I remember we did finally learn about what about the whole Nixon thing when he
Oh,
died. Not
I love
in
that
actual
shit, too.
school and from the textbook because that was too recent. We didn't touch the Cold War or anything.
Wow.
Yeah, that's all stuff I've learned from popular culture.
Yeah,
I've
I-
never actually sat down and learned anything past about World War II.
I did AP US history, and we went at least through Nixon, but I don't think we went past that.
Yeah, I had
I
AP
didn't touch on
government,
any
which is
Carter.
I don't think Carter was really mentioned.
Okay.
some guy to build houses.
Your school was probably right leaning.
Yes, but the textbooks were mandated by the state,
Okay.
and Oregon's not really right-leaning.
Oregon might not be, but still your schools were.
Mhm.
Your school. Yeah.
Our schools were just incredibly overcrowded and poor.
Yeah.
Yeah, no improvements there in the past 15 years. Oh, wait, 10 years. 10 years. I'm not that old. My sister's would have been 15 years. That's right. Yeah, okay. I know what I'm talking about. Whatever.
You challenge yourself.
All right.
All right. I'm not looking at the hangout. You're making a bad face at me. All right. Anyways.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back with science.
Science!
We love hearing from our listeners. You can email
What
us
was
at
with
contact@atheistnomads.com, tweet us at atheistnomads,
It was when you
send us a
started
message on
messing
our
with
Facebook
stuff.
page at facebook.com/atheistnomads.
Yeah, it was. You're moving
Or
stuff
better yet,
around.
call us and leave us a message at 541-203-0666. We might even play it on the show. You can also help us out by leaving us a
What?
review on iTunes, Stitcher, or your podcast directory of choice.
Oops. I didn't realize that you could hear us while that was playing. So
Yeah.
I'm just like, what's with the quality? Anyway, science. So because we were doing this live, I've decided to do it all in robot voice. Nah, I won't. That would. You can't see it in Dustin's eyes right now, but he's really irritated by
I
that.
am not.
He's like, "Don't you dare, Lauren! Don't you dare!" Only a few things this week. The first one's a big one, though. I mean, holy cannoli! This is really cool. Periodic table of elements, right? Everybody knows what it looks like. That seventh row is now complete.
Yes.
That's right. What's it called? The Joint Institute. No, wait, those are the other guys. The International something.
IUPAC.
International Union of Pure and Applied Chemistry. I see it now. They have officially added 4 new elements to the table. 4. What I'm excited about is element 113. Element 113 was discovered in Japan back in 2003, and that's when I first learned about it. And I'm really, really excited because 1, I love Japan. And 2, this opens up the first possibility for having the letter J in the periodic table of elements, right? Now, who's kind of squeeing with me, right? That's exciting because now you can make even more words with periodic table of elements. So you got to throw the J in there. So I'm hoping for either just J or a JA. So Japonium or I don't know, but I'm really, really excited to see what they name it. They could name it after this the team, Riken Institute. They could name it after the leader of the team, or they have their choice. Basically, it could be mythological. It could be based on the researchers. It could be based on the country, based on the institute it was founded. There's a lot of like MIT ones, apparently. But yeah, I'm hoping for the country on this one. Just Japan needs their little flag up there.
Yeah, and realistically, the first one from every country should get that name.
Yeah.
We have Americonium or something like that.
Germanium.
Mm-hmm.
My mind just blanked. Thorium, but Thor is not a country. That's a god. Anyway, so yeah, great job for which is actually pronounced the Riken Institute of Japan. Especially since we've been waiting so long. So, yay! It's only been 8 years. The other one, the other 3 actually were all done by the Joint Institute for Nuclear Research in Dubna. Don't know where that is, but in Dubna. That's the U.S. No, that's the Russian. So maybe it's Dubna. The Joint Institute for Nuclear Research in Dubna. No, that horrible accent. Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory in California, so Russia and U.S. jointly, produced sufficient evidence to claim discovery for elements 115, 117, and 118. That's the whole row there. That's the whole 7th row of the periodic table of elements. They also provided enough evidence to support element 113, so like throw a little bit of extra evidence that way. That's awesome. So now we can just get to wait for the names, and that will be really fun because right now it's like untrinium and quadrium, and yeah, it's horrible. It's horrible. So we'll get rid of the ununs and start getting into some real cool names.
Nice.
I'm also hoping for an LA. I don't know why. Well, I know why, so I can spell my name. LAURE, and it would be cool. It would work out.
So from Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory.
Right?
LA, yeah.
Do that.
Laurininium.
Laurininium. That'd be cool. The second one has been like the biggest hit today. Today is what? Oh gosh, I'm still in December. It's January 4th. So this is the biggest headline for today. It's really interesting, so especially for you biology fans. So I had to throw it in there. Everybody's probably already seen something about a chameleon in the news. They don't know really what's going on, but there's a chameleon in the news. What happened was this study took high frame rate pictures of chameleons catching their prey. So you know how everybody's seen the image of the spring-loaded tongue, and then it goes out and grabs it, and it's all sticky. Bill Nye the Science Guy did a whole bunch of videos about it. And the little squeaky eyes whenever they moved, it would go eat, 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 eat. That was why chameleons were the best on that show. They photographed 55 subjects from 20 different species, ranging from the really big ones like the Jackson chameleon that you see just in the pet stores, down to these teeny tiny minuscule ones. The smallest one was only 47 millimeters long. So that's tiny. That is really tiny and really cute. And what they found was the smaller the lizard, the more powerful of the tongue organ that it had. So the smaller the lizard, the faster the tongue goes. So the smallest species was Rhampholium spinosu. That was a tiny, tiny little one. And the amount of energy it produced, oh my God, is freaking amazing. So they quoted it as 14,040 watts per kilogram of body mass. So I can't even put this into like understandable amounts of power. The closest I found was that it was 264 times the force of gravity. 264 Gs.
Wow.
At 9 Gs, humans pass out.
Uh-huh.
At 100 Gs, that's equivalent to a car going 60 miles per hour running into a brick wall. That's 60. This little chameleon tongue moves with a force of 264 times gravity. Out of this
Holy
teeny
crap.
tiny little lizard. I mean, I can't even imagine. I mean, would it hurt? I don't know. If you had a fly on your arm and one of those little chameleons went for it, would it like break your arm? Probably not, but
yeah, the total
the
momentum would be pretty small still.
Yeah, the momentum is very small, but the amount of energy it goes into doing the flick motion. So yeah, the smaller reptiles had they basically had the bigger mass, the bigger muscle, and what they do is they prime their tongues. So for a bow to work, you have to pull a string and you have to hold it. For a crossbow, you have to ratchet it up, and then it's holding this tension. Well, chameleons do the same thing with their tongues, where they're holding it at this high tension and then release it when they want food. So yeah, these little teeny tiny reptiles just have monumental amounts of tension in their little mouths, and that's just so cute and really cool. And that's why I had to throw it in there today in science.
Very nice.
Yeah. Chameleons rocking it with the little like live long and prosper hands. You're thinking it. Pretty cool.
And if you're watching the video, you get to see her doing the hand motions.
Oh, goodness.
I
All
should
right.
have gloves.
We're going to take another quick break, and we'll be back with politics and religion.
As a listener of the show, I'm going to assume you love my sexy vocal stylings. If you love the rest of the show as much as my voice, consider giving us the resources we desperately need to purchase quality cocaine and Red Bull. We make it super easy to make a one-time donation or to support us on a per episode, monthly, or even annual basis using PayPal or Patreon. Find out more at atheistnomads.com. Use the links on the right side of the page. $1 an episode is all we ask.
After a rally in support of 2 ranchers that were ordered to return to prison for arson on federal land, specifically attempting to burn the remains of a herd of deer they slaughtered, and another fire they illegally, yes, a herd of deer that they poached. And then another time when they were claiming that what they were trying to do was burn off, do a back burn, but that was, putting firefighters at risk. And the charges that they were filed against them are from an anti-terrorism law from the 90s, thanks to Timothy McVeigh. And so the judge had ruled that the sentences they had weren't long enough. Per the statute, it's a minimum of 5 years, so they get to go back for another 4. And after this rally, with a few hundred people in attendance, roughly 15 men then broke into the headquarters of the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge 30 miles outside of Burns, Oregon. This is in one of the least densely populated areas in the U.S. It is one of the geographically largest counties in the U.S. and one of the counties with the smallest population. And it's only about 200 miles from Boise. The group,
Which is why the only building they could find to take over was a bird sanctuary.
yeah. If you think of Boise as kind of being like near the middle of nowhere, Burns really is like in the middle of nowhere. It's on the edge of Oregon's outback, or actually kind of in Oregon's outback.
A lot of jackrabbits.
Yeah, a lot of them.
That
Thump,
building is part of the
Tasty,
Forest
tasty
Service, all right? Essentially.
What was that?
That building is still essentially part of the Forest Service.
Fishing game.
Okay.
Yeah, and this group is mostly made up of people from out of state, if not entirely from people from out of state. It includes 3 of Clive Bundy's sons. They have vowed to stay for years, and some militants, at least one, has claimed a desire to die.
Yeah, it's really weird. They're obviously not fighting for the ranchers because this has nothing to do with the ranchers. To make that perfectly clear,
Oh.
they're going to prison.
There's a giant update on this too.
Ooh,
Just came out just like an hour or so ago.
Ooh,
The Oregon ranchers who prompted the militant takeover surrender to authorities. So
Oh, yeah.
as they were planning on doing.
yeah, they knew they were going to prison. What they did was incredibly illegal and environmentally damaging, and frankly, looks all ranchers look really, really bad, considering that they're already paying almost nothing to have their cattle on that land. In fact, I'm willing to bet most of them aren't even paying not even a quarter of what they should be.
No, that's possible.
Um,
The vast majority of ranchers do pay the fees.
because
Yeah.
it's supposed to be an agreement between the federal land regulation and the ranchers. So basically, what Dustin described as the outback of Oregon really is that it is desert for miles, and they needed help keeping some of the sagebrush and the dead stuff down. So they told ranchers, okay, we'll let you use this land for ranching if you let your cattle graze the stuff down and once in a while help us do our burnouts. So that's where these guys got in trouble, is they did a burnout, but it wasn't authorized, and it was to cover up another. I don't think they actually got charged for the poaching.
No, they didn't.
But setting the fire unauthorized was, I mean, that's not part of the agreement. So
And the poaching would have been under state law. And so, yeah, it doesn't appear that they were charged in state court.
no, I guess they let that one go in hopes of holding on to the federal charge, which a terrorism charge for burning. I would also kind of like go, what? But-
Lighting fire on federal land.
Yeah.
Oh God, do you remember the lady who was trying to burn her love letters and set an entire a forest fire that
Yeah.
lasted for like 3 months?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
She got charged. That was embarrassing.
So,
They're like,
yeah,
exactly what were you burning? Some paper. What was on the paper? Ex-boyfriend's love letters.
So yeah, but all these people, they did walk out. They all, surrendered. I'm counting 6 American flags, and one of them's holding a lovely sign that says "BLM are terrorists. Black Lives Matters." As
Wait,
they walk out.
You said they all surrendered?
Yeah,
Oh, that's
that's
I
what
thought
I'm
you said
saying.
the
Like,
ranchers surrendered.
no, everybody.
Oh.
that's different. That's bigger than I thought.
Yeah,
I knew
they
the
all-
ranchers
they all came out.
had. Well, I mean, what the hell were they going to do out there in the middle of effing nowhere? The only water available is all irrigation runoff for the wetlands, which are unnatural anyway.
I'll
But,
be honest, I wanted them to blockade the fuck out of them and just cut all their utilities out and just kind of freeze them and starve them out.
Nah, they don't even need to do that. If they had called the National Guard like they probably should have, like they have been for all these other terrorist, activities, they could have gassed them out. It would be done in 45 minutes.
So where are
Yeah,
you?
but then there'd be like a Waco, people would be getting shot, and that's the last thing the federal government wanted.
Well,
I'm
that
picking that
shows
up on
the
Raw
stark.
Story, but there's quite a few other places that are putting it out.
Yeah, well, that just shows the stark difference that the whole Black Lives Matters has brought to light is the fact of how differently the states handle these kind of things. If this had been in
How the
Chicago, every single one of those people would have been shot.
How the state handles non-white people versus white assholes. Yeah. Yeah, they would have been dead. They would have been dead the first day, or maybe the second.
Because we know the Bundys are fans of bringing women and children in to use as shields. So as soon as they were allowed time to do that, they would have been in trouble. But that first 45 minutes of them being in the building, that should have been ended with a couple of tear gas canisters and
Since
some
it was a federal
SWAT.
thing, the FBI has been on it. They've been watching from a.
They've been watching.
Yeah.
I feel bad for the freaking bird watchers. These people are hobbyists. They go out there every day to watch these birds, and these people want to sit there indefinitely? No, we want our bird watching. Respect. You know what? Screw the whole thing and just give it all back to the Paiute tribe.
Sure, I'm down.
I like that one. They're the ones who had the land first. It was a reservation. Right? I don't know if it was a reservation for the Paiutes. It was a reservation.
There is a
Paiute,
massive Paiute reservation in that area.
Yeah, totally give it back to them. Let them have the wildlife refuge.
Okay, so I just pulled up the Raw Story article.
Yeah.
And went back to the CNN their article they're basing that off of. The ranchers who are going to prison turn themselves in.
Oh.
Nobody else has turned themselves in.
Really? I was getting the sense that I thought they were all turning themselves in.
Nope.
Especially
if you go back to CNN, the protesters, they're calling them protesters. The more accurate would be insurgents are refusing to leave or say what it will take to get them out. They're saying they won't leave until they get what they want, but they haven't said what they want.
Well, they want freedom, and they want the Constitution to go back the way it was somehow.
That's
They're
not a
vague as
demand.
fuck. I know, it's vague as fuck.
No, what they want is they want control of that probably of that entire area given back to the state. And you know what would happen? It would all be sold out to oil and shale.
Oregon wouldn't.
They're out there looking for the stuff right now. I'm sure they'll find it.
But they
can make a buck off of it. They will.
The claim I heard was that they were wanting to get the land turned over to the county. According to the county sheriff, they're trying to overthrow the county government.
Which is when you put it like that, that's scary.
Yeah.
Because that is a huge county.
Uh-huh.
And it's hard enough as it is from an Oregonian point of view to give that county all the resources it needs because people are so spread out and because there is so much just wasteland. The county can't manage that.
The state can't. That's why you need the feds. The state can't
manage that. That's why they divvied the stuff up to be federal. It's not that the feds came and took it away. It's that the state couldn't handle it. Idaho was much the same way.
It's federal land because it's always been federal land. From the time it was a territory, that's land that nobody homesteaded.
There's nothing out there to homestead.
So it's never been anything but public land of the United States. Except for when the Paiutes had it.
Yeah, and this just keeps bringing up the very sensitive. How much do ranchers think they are owed, and how much do they realistically have the rights to? Because from my understanding, 98% of at least Idaho ranching grounds is not their land. They have no right to put up no trespassing signs. They have no right to go out there with their shotguns. We have no right to mess with their cattle as like tax paying people, but that's where that ends.
Yeah, I'm looking on NBC and headline: Oregon protesters vow to dig in even as their heroes surrender.
Yeah.
So I feel kind of bad for those ranchers because now they're a part of something that's really bad.
That they didn't want anything to do with. They didn't want this takeover to happen. They asked them not to come, and they came anyway. Which what this really shows is this protest that started all of it had nothing to do with those ranchers. This is an anti-government uprising. Pure and simple. Fortunately, it's a small group right now, but they are doing open calls to have more people come and back them up. If this can be resolved quickly, it could be handled easily. It's a lot easier to get 15, 20 people to surrender. But if this goes several weeks, it could be hundreds of people.
The way I keep on, that's something I do actually see over and over, is that this is definitely dozens of people. Not like 150, but dozens.
I've seen counts.
50 to 70.
It's not. I don't think it's going to be hundreds quite yet.
I've seen
saying it could be.
Yeah, I've seen counts anywhere from 15 to 150.
I think 150 is projected.
That was what the group claimed originally.
Oh, wow.
Eyewitnesses over the weekend were seeing about 15. It could be dozens now. They are actively recruiting people to join them, and I'm sure people are showing up.
And what's really sad, it's all self-prophecy, self-fulfilling prophecy.
Mm-hmm.
They're saying the government's going to come take our guns, and they're going to take our land, and they're going to take our rights. Well, they haven't yet. So what do? You rise up, treasonous insurgency. The government comes down, and they take your guns, and they take your land, and they send you to prison, and they think that they're in the right. It's like, no, you idiots! If you hadn't broken the law, you would have been fine.
Right, but if this turns into a Waco or another Idaho, then
Ruby Ridge.
Yeah, Ruby Ridge. People are going to die. There's going to be a whole lot of fucking martyrs there, and all of these fucking gun nuts that are around are going to start actually standing up.
Mm-hmm.
They will, but it will.
So
what
that's
this is
why,
an
that's why I want to starve them out.
And it could be it could end up being really bad, but this is all kind of an extension of the old Western Ku Klux Klan neo-Nazi stuff. Those people are all out there. They've been living peacefully. They've had their own opinions about how stuff should be run, but they haven't uprisen or anything. This might give them a chance to voice more, of their anti-government white power stuff. But it's not going to go anywhere because we have a government. And we have a government that protects the public from people who are waving their guns around. And if that involves the National Guard coming in and...
Well, unfortunately, because of Waco and Ruby Ridge, those two events not only got the agencies involved in a lot of trouble, but they were what prompted Timothy McVeigh. So the authorities are gun shy.
Literally.
They have not shown up yet. And now part of that,
we're in the middle of nowhere.
Part of that is the fact that it is in the middle of nowhere, and they did it on a Saturday, which means it's going to take a few days to get the right people called up to be able to go, but they haven't gone yet. And my fear is the government is going to be so timid with this that it's going to be too large of a group. They're eventually going to have to show up and say, you guys need to leave, and somebody's going to die.
Luckily, it was a Saturday. Otherwise, there would have been employees there. Nobody was there. So I'm kind of happy for that. I actually friended the Malheur County, the Malheur National Refuge on Facebook just to see what they were doing. And you can see up to New Year's, they had no real posts, and now it's closed indefinitely. And people the only way they can get their comments in is by reviewing. So you have like dozens of 5 stars showing people in support of the refuge saying, man, just leave it to the birds kind of thing. And then there's the 1 stars, the people's like, no, these guys are brave patriots. They're just, they're just showing how bad the government has gotten, blah, blah, blah. And it's really interesting to see that on their Facebook page.
One of the funniest things to me is when this first got announced, on the 2nd, ABC News came out with a tweet that said, quote unquote, peaceful protest followed by Oregon Wildlife Refuge action. Yeah.
Now, the protest that
Wow.
was done in Burns was peaceful. It was
I would like to say that
open carry, but it was it was peaceful. They had 100 and something people walking down Burns in support of these ranchers. We didn't realize that they were seeded with these out of state. I don't know what.
Everybody knew that because people have been coming in from all over.
I don't think there's
For
even
quite a
100
while.
people who live in the Burns proper.
It's, I think 2,500 people live in Burns,
Oh, well, in the area.
but you're not going to get 300 people at a protest there. It's hard to get 300 people at a protest in Boise.
So yeah, the protest was fine. You know,
But I also would say that an armed protest is not a peaceful protest.
no,
It is a
in-
militant demonstration.
yeah.
show of force. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
They marched an army through the streets of Burns.
yeah. And when you call for action against the government or against the president, it's called treason. And yeah, it should be treated as such.
Well, it's
But we might be more liable to jump on this like this simply because we live here. I mean, this is not far away. We drive through this town every time we drive through Oregon. And it's ridiculous that these guys chose this spot for this kind of demonstration.
and they're not locals.
They're not locals, so it's not going to get anything done, and all it's doing is hurting it's hurting the local area. And the birds.
And
the birds.
one thing I do want to cover is the way the media has been reporting this.
Bullshit.
Way too
Peaceful
much.
protesters is bullshit. Calling them protesters is bullshit. Calling them a militia is bullshit because a militia is supposed to be in support of the government.
Yeah.
Terrorist, I would be okay with.
Yeah.
Thug, I'd be okay with.
Christian terrorist.
Yeah, that'd be good. I think insurgent or
Yeah.
would be a good one, and
Christian jihadist.
I love the Al Qaeda.
Oh yeah.
That's probably my favorite.
mhm.
Interesting note: the Mormon Church has also come out and said, "Hands off these guys." They're like they want nothing to do with this, because if you look into the history of the West, there's a certain group of people who had a lot of power who were rather anti-government.
The Mormons.
The Mormons. The rest of the LDS community wants nothing to do with this, but it does have seeds in that old. We own the West and we want our land to do with what as we please. And the
Mhm.
government has never recognized that. Because you can't do that. You can't just go out, claim care, homestead a place, and then claim your own government and your own thing. It didn't work out in their favor. There was no armed military to support it. Feds came in. It became states, territories, and states, and they haven't had any power in that regards for 200, 150 years. Don't know why they think it should. 100 years. At least 100 years. And
Yeah.
these guys think that they still have the same rights as the people from 150 years ago. Nope.
All right, we're going to move on to the next story, but
Oh, holy crap. We still have the rest of this to go. Sorry.
before that, I want to check on the video because we're hearing some funky audio on our end from Wesley.
Brown chicken, brown cow.
Come on.
Hey,
Where's
Warren,
Wesley?
have you looked at Dustin's phone yet?
Yes. It wasn't as bad then. Oh. Yeah, Wesley, your audio isn't getting to YouTube very well. You want to drop out and rejoin?
Sure.
Don't drop out. Once you drop out, it's almost impossible to get back in. Says the 30-year-old who wants to go back to school.
Now I'll need to see if he needs me to add him back.
Sorry, I talked too much on that one.
Oh,
that
you're fine.
This is really just bothering me. There's a part of me that just wants to like, oh, whatever, just send the National Guard and shoot them up. But then there's the other part of me that's like, what are you talking about? That's stupid.
Yeah, if we do that,
that's martyrdom.
We create a larger uprising. And we don't want to do that.
It's the knowledge that these people are here among us. I mean, God, one of the Bundys lives in freaking Emmett.
Ooh, Wesley got a blue screen and he's restarting.
Ah! We broke Wesley's computer.
So, but yeah, it's
Idaho and Oregon are so famous for
there's
this stuff.
Yes, but there's more people from Idaho there than there are from Oregon. More from Nevada and Utah and Montana than there are from Oregon. It's a bunch of out-of-state people coming to Oregon, my home state, and causing chaos. And people are going to get hurt. People are going to die. And that's what they want. They want a major uprising.
It's not going to be major.
They're wanting this to be, the Battle of Bunker Hill. It's not. They aren't fighting for anything worth fighting for. They have these weird delusions of what power should, or where power should be. What they really want is anarchy. And that is insane.
Nah, they just want the good old days back.
Those good old days never happened.
I know. It never existed. It was horrible.
They were never there. Oh, man.
But Cliven Bundy taught his kids, and his kids are teaching their kids. And
oh, shit. Wesley tried to recover Audacity, and that dumped too.
What does that mean?
The audio he's been recording on his end that was clean.
Oops. Well, that happens.
Damn. Fortunately, it was pretty good when he was talking. More.
In history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, while we wait for Wesley.
I suppose we could start on the next subject.
Yeah. In the Indonesian province of Aceh, or Eka, or whatever it is, they recently held a public caning in front of a mosque. An unmarried couple was punished for affectionate conduct, and 4 men were punished for gambling. The first person to receive the 5 strokes that they all got was Nur Elita, the 20-year-old woman involved in the affectionate conduct, and she had to be carried to an ambulance after her punishment.
The pictures are bad. And just, a quick reminder as to what caning is. That is when they take a cane of bamboo and they smack you as hard as they can. They beat your back. They don't break your back, but they beat the crap out of it.
Wesley's back.
Yeah.
Wesley!
And we are in progress on the caning story.
Awesome.
We just started. So yeah, caning is bad. It hurts really bad and can cause very bad permanent damage. And it looks like this woman, for whatever affectionate conduct is, I guess it's holding hands, kissing, cuddling, crap that we do all the time and take for granted.
Well, we're married though.
Well, even
so it's the stuff that Wesley and Meredith are doing.
That is true.
These people have just gotten beaten.
And 4 of them were just for gambling, which is illegal. This province is an autonomous region in Indonesia that has been allowed to establish Sharia law. So this was a public caning with hundreds of people in attendance, and the crowd cheered as each offender was brought on stage. So hundreds of people cheering as a 20-year-old girl is brought out to get beat.
Yeah, that's what you get when you make punishment a form of entertainment. And it's what we saw hundreds of years ago, and it's not gone away, and it won't go away until a centralized government comes down and says, no, this is wrong. Which these guys got the skirt by.
They got autonomy, I think it was 2001. So they've had 14 years to figure out how they want to do things on their own. Oh, 2003. So we're starting year 13 of them being a special autonomous region, and it's not going well.
How?
Sharia law is bullshit.
Yeah, it's not going well from our perspective. From their perspective, it's kind of hard because, I mean, in America, I really do believe if they did public hangings, this would be the reaction. People would go and they would cheer. And there'd be people who held back and say, no, that's messed up. I'm not comfortable with that. But until a government comes in and says, no, we're not going to do this, this is wrong, people will enjoy they'll bring freaking popcorn to this crap because they think, oh, that's the bad. The bad should be punished. They don't have, the peanut gallery doesn't have concept of a gradient system of good and evil.
That's what I recall, like from old England. Was like people would go to the town and watch the hangings.
Yeah, they didn't have
and
movies.
picnics and shit.
The guillotine, the French Revolution, famous because so many people viewed it and cheered it.
Wild West, they'd build the gallows right in the middle of town for everybody to watch.
It was part of your punishment was to be viewed and humiliated in front of everybody.
Yeah.
For hugging and kissing and showing affection and gambling, which I don't know. I could care less about, but
God, how many ways would I be hung and shit just for all them sex toys I got?
Well, we'd be beheaded for doing this podcast.
Well, with me, they would have a variety of reasons.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of hells we're all going to. Yeah.
And speaking of which, the U.S. Special Operations Forces captured a whole bunch of documents during a raid on ISIS in May. Some of these documents have been released. One of them covers cases where a man is not allowed to have sex with his slaves, such as if he has already had sex with her mother or daughter, if his father or son has already had sex with her, or if he shares ownership with somebody else.
Oh, and what is this world coming to? Goodness.
Yeah. With the joint ownership, I guess they don't want them to, do three ways. Actually, all those seem to basically be to try to avoid incestuous three ways.
Goodness. Where do you draw the line?
Incest, apparently.
Yeah. Incest or two dudes.
Oh, okay.
And another document that has been released says that it is acceptable for organs to be harvested from an apostate to save the life of a Muslim, even if doing so will kill the captive.
Yeah.
Heart transplant, here we come.
Being captured by ISIS is not good.
No.
Those people did not make it.
This is really, if you're captured by ISIS, your life is over.
Oh, yeah.
If you're lucky.
All of you fuckers who want to keep those Syrian refugees out, this is what they're running from. God damn, be a freaking human being.
Yeah. Organ harvesting and sex slavery. And my guess would be the young or youngish hot women get to be slaves and the men and older women get harvested.
Yeah.
Well, on the plus side, at least they'd probably use like some anesthesia to put you out if they're going to take your heart or lungs or some shit.
Really?
If you're lucky.
I'm pretty sure. I mean, they don't want to have like,
it is a medical procedure.
Yeah.
Well,
they want to kill you until they're like.
Of course, it doesn't take much to get a kidney and liver out. You can kill a person and harvest their kidneys and livers. And hearts, obviously, a lot more complicated. I don't think they're harvesting hearts over there.
They will. There is no evidence they have done this yet. But
the rules are there.
They have established the rules that say you can. You can take the beating heart from somebody's chest.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, geez. That actually sounds really cool when you say it like that.
Yeah, that's that's some fucking Indiana Jones shit right there.
Like seriously, it's their captive. They have the right to take the beating heart out of their chest. Dun, dun.
Only if it will save the life of a Muslim.
Right. Oh well, at least there's that line that's been drawn.
Because if you aren't a Muslim, and by Muslim they mean their style of Muslim, otherwise you're an apostate, then you are less than human. Pure and simple.
Yep.
Another example of what happens when Sharia law gets to happen. And it's not pretty.
Sharia law happens everywhere. This is just extremist Muslim Sharia law.
Most places don't implement full Sharia. Most Muslim majority countries. Saudi Arabia is a good example, and they behead and flog people publicly.
That's all guided under Sharia.
Yeah,
laws.
that is Sharia. It's a great example
The
of how
US
nasty
does it,
Sharia
so why
is.
not everybody else? That's why you can't buy alcohol, hard liquor on Sundays, and
That's only in a couple states.
it still counts as Sharia law. I mean, it's still biblical. It's still religious law.
Actually,
Dry counties exist because of that.
but you can't make that argument from the Bible.
Well, no, it
is religiously motivated, but it is not biblical.
Well, yeah. Wow. Well, of all the people to talk to about this, you're like the one person that's most difficult because you have the damn thing memorized.
Yeah.
All I've got to say is Kalima.
Kalima. I just want to see somebody pull a spine out.
Oh yeah, fucking get over here. Yeah, fucking Mortal Kombat.
Finish him. Okay, yeah, we have to joke about it because the reality's not fun.
And for a
this last one's
funny
awesome,
story, it's not the last one, but it's a good funny one. A priest in the Philippines rode a hoverboard. That's a self-balancing scooter, not an actual hoverboard, up and down the aisles during the Christmas Eve Mass, and the DOC was not pleased.
Aww.
They have suspended him, claiming that he attempted to capriciously introduce something to get the attention of the people and thought he hadn't given the Eucharist sufficient respect and reverence. Since apparently in the Catholic Church, trying to get people's attention is bad.
Trying to get people's attention using flashing neon lights and crappy gadgets I can totally respect that. But on the other hand, have you seen these boards? They're so wicked awesome. They're segways without handles.
Come on, the priest bought a toy. He wanted to show it off. I can't blame him for that.
Right. I mean, how else is he going to be able to get around his huge mansion? He can't walk.
Most priests don't have huge mansions. That's just bishops and the Pope.
That's mega church stuff. That's more
Yeah.
Protestant.
That's prosperity gospel. Protestant.
Still, you got a toy. Let him fucking have some fun.
It's like those Brazilians that were trying to record themselves on one of these that got stopped by that crazy woman and started yelling at them. These hoverboards, man, they've got controversy all over.
I don't know.
And for our last story, Scalia thinks, a lot of crazy things. So keep in mind, this is Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States, Anton Scalia. And he gave a speech at a Catholic high school in a New Orleans suburb last weekend, where he said, and I quote, "To tell you the truth, there's no place for that in our constitutional tradition. Where did that come from? To be sure, you can't favor one denomination over another, but can't favor religion over non-religion?"
Yep.
Sure.
And he went on to claim that God favors us because of how often our leaders invoke him.
Shall we list the problems with
this
that?
This is the longest serving member of our Supreme Court.
God, is he really?
Yeah.
Yep.
He's effed up.
He was appointed to the court in 1986, 30 years ago.
Oh my God, I was born in 85. That's sad.
Yeah.
Scalia looks like one of his parents fucked a bulldog. And
that man has jowls.
Crazy jowls.
Oh shit.
Futurama Nixon jowls.
Yeah, seriously. Okay, well,
Nah, he's a dirtbag, and when he's gone, the Supreme Court will become that much better.
that'll be a better place. Yeah.
Yeah. No, we just need to get Thompson out of there.
Thompson,
Thomas?
Clarence
Well,
Thomas.
Clarence,
Yes.
sure.
Yeah,
Him,
but okay.
him
So
and his pubes. Yeah.
getting back to the statements, the statements at hand. He is correct to an extent.
Well,
this
for
has
the
been
first line, sure.
this is a constitutional tradition is an important term because it changes, it develops, it grows. And the Constitution at the time that it was passed said that the US Congress couldn't establish any religion, but the states mostly did. By 1820, that was all gone. By the end of the 19th century, the First Amendment was ruled to apply to the states. Prior to that, states could pass any laws they wanted to restrict the freedom of the press, freedom of speech. It took the Supreme Court to say, no, actually, this applies to the states too. And as our society has evolved, so has concepts of pluralism and freedom, including what establishment of religion means. There was a time where that meant you couldn't favor one Christian denomination over another. But we aren't in a country made up entirely of Christians anymore. We have non-Christians who get a place too, including atheists.
Yay! A growing number of us, too.
Yay. So sure, you can't favor one religion or one denomination over another, but what a dick saying, oh yeah, sure. But religion
You'd think
can
that the
totally...
logic would lead then to that you can, but no, he decided to go with the other way.
Sure, yeah, because, obviously having religion is better than not, so fuck those nots. Please.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've got some feedback. First off, we've got a voicemail from an anonymous person. Anonymous because he didn't leave us any identifiers.
That's pretty anonymous.
Hey, Atheist Nomads. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Listening to the last podcast, you were mentioning the iTunes reviewer talking about the political views and feeling that he was being called a racist. He may have been referring to the Michael Brown case in Ferguson. I felt a little bit of hostility in that, but also because I work in law enforcement as well. But that might clear up what his situation was. You kind of eased back on it in the shows since, but just figured I'd toss that out there. Keep up the good work.
Well, thanks, Mr. Anonymous law enforcement person.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one thing I think is important to point out, and if you can find a timestamp that contradicts this, I have never said anything anti-law enforcement.
Well, it was probably me, to be fair.
It's hard it's hard for Dustin to do it. He's got family.
I have a brother who is a deputy sheriff.
He's got deputy sheriff. You also have military.
I am anti-police abuse, and I'm anti-bullshit excuses for justice. I do believe everybody's lives matter, and right now that means Black Lives Matter. And yes, we eased up on that topic a little bit. That's just because other stuff came to the forefront.
Yeah. I'm totally with you on what you said, Dustin. I'm also very I would really like to see some change, some positive change, a lot of positive change, really. But,
yeah, and sometimes a bad joke is just that, a bad joke.
Yeah, I'm kind of a dick.
Wesley.
Yeah, and when there's cases of institutional racism that isn't a mark against everybody who's a part of that institution. It is a mark against that institution. And one of the things I saw terrifyingly coming from law enforcement around the time of the Michael Brown case was them taking that innocent civilians' lives matter as an insult. I have a hard time wrapping my head around that. I have a hard time wrapping my head around how you could take don't kill unarmed people who haven't committed crimes as a bad thing. That seems pretty obvious to me.
It seems
And
pretty
you know what?
obvious.
If they've committed crimes and they're still unarmed, don't fucking kill them.
Yeah.
On there too.
You know, the city of Boise last year killed 2 people. In both cases, they were armed. And one guy was shooting off
And dangerous.
rounds. Yeah.
Yeah.
One guy was shooting off rounds in a neighborhood. And the police came. They couldn't get him to stop. So they shot him. And the other was, at that point, running from the cops with a gun in his hand, wouldn't stop. And they shot him. In both cases.
That one's slightly debatable to me.
That one's a little more debatable. But if somebody has a gun and gets killed by the cops, I would have a very hard time saying anything against that.
I would, but it's harder when you don't have family. And when you consider, it's like, oh, well, obviously, if the person's unarmed, then don't shoot them. Well, you actually get into those situations, and then all of a sudden, an unarmed person can be really, really dangerous and intimidating. Either to the officer themselves or to the people around. And it's that situational awareness that you can't catch on a phone camera. So I'm willing to give leeway there. And I love that you called and helped kind of clarify that and I'll say called these guys out on it. I wasn't involved in that particular debate, but I may have been. But totes respect.
Yeah, I'm not. There's a lot of fucking bad apples, but there's way more good cops out there too. So I'm not gonna say that. Just fucking throw everything out. All cops. Are
good cops. You can stand up for yourselves too. You don't have to. You don't have to take this from these bad apples and say, well, if you attack us, one of us, you've attacked all of us. It's like, no, that guy was actually kind of a dick.
So, we're totally focusing on police and law enforcement right now. So, a non-caller, we're not trying to fucking attack you right now, but there's been some really shitty stuff, and I'm not going to call you out and say, hey, you should be speaking up, but it couldn't hurt.
Stand up for your reputation.
Yeah. If you're in a position where you can be a force for change, and if you're in a position where you can't, please treat everyone like human beings.
Yeah. The general rules of humanism. Don't be a dick to another person. Don't be a dick to animals, and don't be a dick to the environment. It's just, of course, by saying dick, I'm being totally sexist. So jerk. There we go.
I would love to see lots of police go over to Europe and go through like the Northern European countries. Their police academy is actually like 2 years, I think.
And it's all non-lethal.
Yeah.
So Chicago just did a great thing. They upped the budget for tasers. So I mean, honestly, these guys, if there's a guy running away with a gun and you don't have a taser or have any way of stopping the guy, you're gonna have to shoot him. You're gonna try and aim for a leg or something, but these guys didn't have the tools.
Fuck that. They're running away. Call for backup.
Yeah, then you end up with those neighborhood searches. And it gets bad. Anyway, they're getting tasers now, so that's a plus. More of those beanbag guns, those kind of things. The non-lethal stuff, definitely.
You should call those less lethal.
Less
Yeah.
lethal. Yeah.
They can be lethal. And
Especially
they have been
tasers.
abused as well. But yeah, my stepbrother, who's the police officer, he's taught non-lethal force at the Oregon State Police Academy, and he's also traveled around the country teaching non-lethal force. I give him major kudos for that. That is awesome. I've also heard about a case where he was about ready to kill the suspect when his partner was able to get a clean shot with the taser, and that man got to go to trial. That was awesome.
Tools in your toolbox.
All right, let's go ahead and move on. We got a comment on YouTube regarding episode 126. No
shit.
pork or shellfish is a Jewish thing, I think. Jewish and Adventist. And to a certain extent, Muslim.
Yeah. At least
The pork part.
Dustin definitely knows the Adventist shit. So,
Yeah.
It's in. Go ahead.
It's in the Bible. Just most Christians don't worry about Leviticus chapter 11. They prefer Leviticus chapter 19.
Temptation does not come in the form of an apple, but as bacon.
But pretty much every conservative Christian does like something Leviticus. If it's not what foods to eat, it's why gays are bad.
Why polyester and cotton shouldn't mix.
No, they pretty much all ignore that.
Yeah, no, not the fashionable ones.
It would have been nice if I had known to ignore certain parts of that book, since I had my first wet dream on a Friday night and had to go to church and was afraid that I was committing a sin against God by going to church so soon after that.
Yeah.
And it was literally the 2 weeks after I got baptized.
Oh.
So it actually counted.
Right? You're like, wait, up to this point, I could have gone away with all this? Anyway.
But yeah, cherry picking is a very common thing across all of religion. You have to, because it'd be impossible to actually follow all the rules.
Everything that has rules. Cherry picking is a coping mechanism of survival. How many of us have broken the dress rules at work? Just because it's too hard to get by.
I don't think I have.
You wouldn't. I'm sorry. That came out really harsh.
Yeah.
You wouldn't let me put something in a neighbor's mailbox because that breaks federal law. I wasn't stealing their mail. I was putting something in the mailbox. And then, nope, that's federal law.
You're not supposed to touch mailboxes.
I know.
Anyway,
God.
Put a
you
birthday
can
card in the mailbox.
He wouldn't let me.
You can email us at contact@atheistnomads.com or call us at 541-203-0666. Leave us a comment on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, @Atheist Nomads, all that good stuff. And we do have 2 new patrons.
Oh,
Yay.
shit.
Will.
Thank you, Henry and Will. You sound kingly.
I'm sure your genitalia are large and firm.
All right. Well, that's the
that's not the greatest compliment you can give to a guy, I guess.
That wraps up this episode. I have a dog that wants to fight
my lap
Bucky
is
for Lauren's
becoming...
lap.
Yes, my lap.
So Rocco's going to say goodbye now.
Oh, bye-bye, Rocco Taco.
We'll be back next week with an interview.
Bye-bye, Corgi. Bye-bye, Bucky. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Atheist Nomads. You can find show notes and contact information at atheistnomads.com. Follow us on Twitter @Atheist Nomads and like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Atheist Nomads. Please subscribe to the show in iTunes, Stitcher, or your podcatcher of choice. And while you're there, feel free to leave us a review. Theme music is courtesy of Sturdy Fred. Until next time, this has been the Atheist Nomads.
Good show.